Deep in an underground secret Pacific Island lair, Pop Culture Minefield presents Saturday Morning Funtime. This is the Comic Relief Crusader telling you to get your morning cereal ready, because here we go.
It's Saturday morning somewhere. I want to welcome to the panel Mark Sinner, who was a guest just the other day with Dawn and I on UFO Wednesday. It's good to have you here, Mark. You're a big fan of the film too.
Yes.
And it's going to be fun talking about this. I'm going to enlarge this here a little bit. So just remember, right above Mark's head, Soylent Green is people. Now, is there anybody in this panel right now that has some Soylent Green handy? They actually put out some crackers and stuff, but I went to Amazon to get some, and they were not available. So I think everybody's experiencing shortages right now, even with Soylent Green, sadly. But this is like, there was a trifecta of Heston films that came out over a period of just a few years. It was, I think, Planet of the Apes was first, Omega Man was next, and then the final, Heston sci-fi film was Soylent Green. And I think that came out in, 71, 72, as I recall?
72, I think.
Yeah. So, he had the
73.
He had the back end of the 60s going into the 70s. And it was the second iteration with Omega Man of the book by Matheson, Last Man on Earth. And the first version was with Vincent Price. I Am Legend, that's it. Vincent Price did it with Last Man on Earth. And then the second time was Omega Man. Both thematically are pretty much the same, except for the original film followed the actual ending closer in the book, where he discovers he's the bad guy. Omega Man.
It's a bit more than that, and it's one of my favorite endings of all time, because not only that, like, he's become their monster, he's become their legend. Hence the title, I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's become the world's big boogeyman. So he'll die off.
The
whole human race dies off, but his name will live on because of what he's done.
Yeah, because what's going on is it's a natural selection thing, evolution thing, where he's now the cul-de-sac. What we used to believe the Cro-Magnon to be, but learned later, or Neanderthal. We thought Neanderthalis was a dead end, but in actuality, many of us, myself included, have that DNA in us. Hence why I'm such an asshole, I think, and a giant. But we get into Soylent Green, and Soylent Green, it was 73. It was the last film of Edward G. Robinson, because he died that same year. He died right after the release of the film, or just before the release of the film. But it's so ironic because his character dies in the film, the emotional death scene at the end. And I remember going to see it with my dad. I was like 8, and I was moved by that film. It really had an impact on me. Going to see movies like that. My dad would by the way, Mark, my dad kidnapped me. So if he it's just him and me. So if we were going to go to see Serpico when it came out, he would just be holding my ears and covering my eyes a lot. Because he couldn't leave me at home or leave me with a babysitter.
I saw this film like I saw many classics I saw on television. It would be like either Turner Classic Movies or the Sci-Fi Channel. Usually,
so you saw it later. What year would you think that was? In the 90s?
Yeah, it would be the late 90s, because Sci-Fi Channel started, 92, 93? And they didn't really start getting their programming going, especially with a lot of the classic films, until much later on. I mean, Sci-Fi Channel's where I realized there was multiple cuts of Blade Runner, because when I initially picked up, it was just, oh, this is Blade Runner. And then I saw on Sci-Fi Channel with a friend, I didn't quite get what happened. And then suddenly, this is a completely different ending. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, and of course, I just talked to Anima about Blade Runner, and we're going to sit down and try to watch the three versions I think that are worth watching, which is the work print, the theatrical release, and then the final cut. I don't bother with the director's cut.
But yeah, let's see. I think it was Turner Classic Movies because remember they always had those old white.
Well, Turner used to
tell you about the movie.
always one of the better channels, but there was a time when AMC was giving it a run for its money back in the 90s, back when they had George Clooney's dad on there. And it was another movie channel. And I loved their introductions and outros where they would talk about the film, the stars and stuff like that. But then it was sometime in the early 2000s, they transitioned to being a basically almost like TNT or TBS, just commercial interruptions for movies. It just wasn't the same anymore. AMC lost a lot of prestige in the 2000s.
And another with this movie, this is one of many movies where I caught it in the middle. Or actually, no, I caught like the last, I think it's fourth or third of this movie. So I knew what the twist was, but had no context for anything. But just from what it sounded like, I have to see the rest of this movie.
Roger that, yeah. So let's go around the board, and I'll start with Mark. Mark, how old were you when you saw it the first time?
I saw it at the theater.
And you and I are pretty much in the same age group, so you were like about 8 years old?
No, I would have been 13, 14.
Oh, so you're older than me by a couple of years. Okay.
Yeah. And I saw that and the other two in his trifecta. And I liked it a lot. It's funny that it took place in 2022. And
yeah, I know, right?
Here. And,
it's so funny when he opens the books and it's got 2018 and 2019 on it.
Yeah. I'll say that Edward G., he died like 4 months before it opened. Yep. So,
yeah, I knew that he died close to it because it was released in 73 and he died in 73.
Right. The scene that made the biggest impression on me was the one where he brings the food home from the skyscraper, and they eat the apple down to the stem and all that, and
all of it, nothing wasted.
Right, and he couldn't make Thorn really internalize or know what it was like before it all went to hell in a handbag, and he starts to cry because it's like, something as simple as a little steak and an apple and all this stuff is like God sent, and Thorn likes it, but he just takes it kind of for granted because he doesn't know any better.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because one of my favorite things about the film is how he goes to a scene of a murder and he begins policing supplies that he knows he's got a window of opportunity to steal shit.
Yeah.
And he just does. And it's got everything in the film from climate issues, pollution to overpopulation. But I do also like another theme in it is the visual theme, that everything that the people are wearing is meant to remind you of communist Russia and China. From the clothing, the headgear, everything.
Also, there's if you saw Romero's Dead film,
Dawn, Night, Day.
No, it would be the fourth one.
Land.
Yes,
Land of the Dead. Yeah,
there's a lot of correlation there with the Richies and the skyscraper, and they're completely removed from what's going down below. Zombies are not. Same type of thing here as well.
Right, and I do the themes of the film are the ones that get me, and to get to understand the main character of Thorn, what he's doing and how he maneuvers in this stuff, because he has, outside of Saul, he has no life, really, other than doing his job. Yep. And so he begins to almost live a false life within the film by going back to that guy's apartment, banging his the woman that goes, yeah, we're in a world where when you get a nice apartment, the woman comes with the apartment.
She's the furniture.
Yeah, she's the she hates that too.
Yep.
And dealing with a lot of different issues with that. Her demanding of him when he calls her the furniture, she says, please don't call me that. And I'm like, I like that moment between them.
And she's one of the only ones alive still. She played Cheryl, and Gilbert, the guy who knocks the guy in the head in the skyscraper. Most everybody's dead from this film now.
Oh yeah, cast wise, and it's sort of sad, because I look back at even like, because she was in another movie called Looker, if you remember that one with Susan Gay and Albert Finney, and it's like, oh my god, a bulk of them are dead now, and it's sad, because that's what happens to us fucking humans, and that's really at the crux of this fucking movie, and I've wanted to see what your opinion was, because I always, when I was explaining certain things to Anima as we watched it together, that Saul doesn't want to be here anymore. He doesn't. It's exhausting knowing what the world used to be and what it is now. And when he sees what's really going on, when he fully understands it, he turns himself into the paper trail for Thorn.
Yep.
He creates a paper trail with his own body. And it's one of the most heartbreaking parts of the film. I cried in the theater. I remember when I was a kid watching it, and I cried when he died, because they really make you feel it. Yeah. And the visual effects aren't that great. Yeah, it's like when you look at the big scoops by today's standards, that's kind of like, But thematically,
but back then it was amazing.
Oh, it was. Like, I remember talking to kids like, that fucking shovel came down and smashed that motherfucker.
And I can't remember which ones were in this one, but in the Omega Man and other films of the time, where they would speed things up just a smidgen to make it go a little quicker, and you go, why? It looks horrible, but that's what they did back then.
Yeah, they did that shit, speed things up, and now when they do it today, they get away with it a little better because there's no loss in quality, and it doesn't look super weird like it used to when they would do it.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Shinansky?
I can tell you why that's done. It's a matter of pacing, because they want to still use that shot, but it's just too long, and it's going to start to become like...
No, we're talking about the moments when the action takes place. Specifically, the action gets sped up. And they're doing it not for a pacing issue, but because they want it to look like it's happening at combat speed. But it looks funny because it doesn't match up with all the other movement. And your eye, it's sort of like CG, your eye can catch... What do they call that? The uncanny valley,
right?
Where your eye picks up things that aren't natural, and you automatically just key in on it. And even with your conscious mind, you're not even fully aware. Like, why is that getting my attention? Your subconscious picks that shit up.
Okay, I thought I was thinking of like, because it has been a while, so I probably don't remember the exact shot you're talking about.
It's the bulldozer scene when the scoop comes down and squishes him. That was sped up,
right? And in the Omega Man, when he drives around the city and he sees something upstairs and he picks his gun up and he sits up real quick. I mean, it's so silly, and it's like it's terrible, but they left it in the movie. It's like, wow, I don't know. It seems like a big mistake to me. Also, isn't it funny that the director of that,
Fleischer,
when he made 2000 Leagues Under the Sea, for my money, I thought the effects in that were way better, and that's from 1954.
I know.
Of course, it's budget. I get it, but they were way better, I thought.
Yeah, the budget wasn't so big for this film, and they had to fudge a lot of things in the film. It was very low budget, and they were also, one of the other things, and I explained this to Anima, There was this period from about 1965 through 1975, 10-year period, where Hollywood couldn't figure out how to make fucking blood. And sometimes it was pinkish, because I watched an episode of the color episode of Perry Mason. Had one episode that was in color in its final season. And when the guys get shot, the character, there's red, and then all of a sudden there's like this lavender pink, almost the color of the background here on my screen. It's like when it, as the liquid part of it spread into the shirt, it became a lavender purplish color. And they just could not figure it out. And part of the problem was the changes in color.
So Gary, there's Klingons hiding among us is basically what you're saying.
Yeah. Klingon blood. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Undiscovered
but there's
country.
Also this other thing with the censorship, because in the 80s, like in a movie like Street Trash or something, they couldn't have released it virtually at all unless they turned it all green and all that.
Yeah. Well, they did the same thing with Blade Runner. Remember the scene where Roy Batty kills Tyrell?
Yeah.
In the original theatrical cut, when he goes to dig his thumbs into his eyes, they switched to a red filter for the entire shot so you couldn't see the blood.
Right.
Otherwise, the MPAA was going to give them an X rating.
Right. But then you have like Verhoeven, who puts out the uncut RoboCop, and that scene in the conference room that if you've seen that uncut, I mean, there's Ziploc baggies and they're just exploding. It's glorious for me. I'm like clapping, like, oh, yes, that's great. But they had to cut that down by like 80% because it's just too much. And it's like, but it's a movie. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So like I was saying, in between 1965 and 1975, movies had a lot of trouble. Like Rooster Cogburn, you'll see John Wayne like bleeding in films, and it's almost an orangish color.
Right.
And they were having trouble understanding how camera picked up the color. And I don't think they had the budgets to just sit down with the cameras and figure out what color worked. And they just eventually slowly came to it. And Karo syrup and red food dye number 5 or whatever it was they used is the closest thing they've ever gotten to looking like real blood.
Or the real thing, like Romero was known to do. Just go to the slaughterhouse and
get some pig blood,
I don't know. We have pretty good fake blood in Vienna at the State Opera.
Oh yeah, on stage.
Yeah,
but I got to
stage blood
tell
is
you,
awesome.
You will see every once in a while, even in more modern films. What's that Gary Sinise Mel Gibson movie, the kidnapping movie? What was it called?
Ransom.
Yeah, that's it. And you'll see the scene where the guy's laying on the street and Ron Howard closes in on the body as they move closer. And you can see the pool of blood has a film on top of it, which is what happens with Karo syrup. As it sits there, it gets this it wrinkles. If you move slightly, it'll wrinkle on top of the blood, and it looks really bad. It's where it doesn't work. But anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but blood is important in film, especially if you have action films. You want it to look as realistic. Modern day equivalent to the bad blood of the 60s to 70s was current CGI trends of doing fake.
Oh, CGI blood is so bad. Also, hi guys, sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay, Anima. You're having winter weather problems.
Well, a lot of these problems are happening in part just because they're getting too cheap. Like CG blood can look well and good, but the people that are basically telling the directors, whoever, is like, oh, that's good enough. We don't care.
Yeah, well, you see that with certain filmmakers in particular, that they just, I'm going to say it, Clint Eastwood, notoriously just doesn't want to put a lot of time into things. And like some of the early stuff with him was, what is that movie where he's a Civil War vet and they're hunting him before Pale Rider? God bless it. The Western where he's going across the country and evading the Civil War hunters that were looking for veterans that fled the war and shit like that. And in the movie, my dad would used to bitch about this all the time. He was one of those guys that probably should have worked in Hollywood because he would notice the different times of day. From one shot to the next shot, it would be a different time of day, different lighting, different shadows. And I'm like, that's just Clint Eastwood. He wants to get the shot. He doesn't care about certain things. And he did that, well, clearly with the Chris Kyle story. He did it with the baby, the clearly, obviously fake baby in that scene. It doesn't even remotely come off as real. And
but it's a great film still.
Yeah, still great filmmaking. But you get filmmakers that are like that, where there are things they care about, and there are some things they just don't give two shits about. And of course, those of us with OCD are taunted and horrified by that stuff, because we sit there, we're like, what? But wait, like Francis Ford Coppola with Dracula, where a continuity error takes place where the cowboy's hat is in his hands, and then suddenly it's under Dr. Seward. Somehow it morphed out of his hand and transferred through time and space under Dr. Seward's ass in one cut, that quick. And
Gary, show me on the baby doll where Clint Eastwood touched you.
If I showed you that, man, you'd have to make my day.
Wait, Gary, let me fix this.
That's a Clint Eastwood joke. Fat Steven got upset when I told him he missed Saturday Morning Fun Time. He said he's not on it.
There you go.
Right when I was reading it. Thank you. Can we go back? Thank you. It was Shinatsky. They sound the same. Oh, my God. Oh, man. Yeah. I don't think they sound anything alike. I think Fat Steven will occasionally sound like Tom. Because, when he does Tom's Batman voice, because he does it spot on. Anybody who knows Fat Steven knows his impression of Tom is spot on. It's really good. And he will talk like him, it'll throw me off. But, hey, I haven't said good morning to everybody. Dork Knight is here. Andy Morrow, Penny, Dork Knight's mom. Anima Confusa, of course, is also on the panel now. Monkey Jeebus. Slasher Fred is here. War Monkey. The Peter Venkman fan site Magitech Mags is here. Kingsport Cal. Bush McFadden. Decepticon's Cave of Comics and Toys. American Road Warrior. Joseph Dredd. Our Muslim uncle. And Genghis Khan, or do you prefer Genghis? Personally, when people say Genghis, I just think of that pretentious cocksucker named Kerry. Won't say his first name, but it sounds like John F.
You think it would be John F. U?
It's like being named after a great president and then not living up to it. You, sir, are not John F. Kennedy. And anyway, so in classic film Escape from New York, the character of Snake was inspired by Clint Eastwood. Absolutely. Two of his films, Kurt Russell's films, were inspired by famous actors. Clint Eastwood was for Escape from New York, which is funny because you also have Lee Van Cleef in there, that is best known for being in Clint Eastwood, a couple of Clint Eastwood movies. And then, of course, he did John Wayne in Big Trouble in Little China. And it's a pretty good impression of John Wayne.
And we got old First Bridge.
Come on, Jeebus. You're not even trying to be creative.
Took you 24 minutes to do it, man.
And then he just comes up with this.
And we got a new one for you guys. Here you go.
Yeah.
Go! Use the back door. I'll stall the crowd. Go.
And who's got the coolest name of all the cast from Soylent Green? The coolest name.
Oh, shit. I forget who.
Brock Peters.
Brock Peters is so good in that.
Peters. That's just such a great name.
Yeah, he. I was explaining to Anima that when the BBC did their Star Wars radio show, that Brock was brought in to do Darth Vader.
Yes.
There was only one actor who reprised his role from film to the BBC, which was Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill. Everybody else, like John Lithgow was Yoda. Brock Peters was Darth Vader. What's his name from Riptide? I cannot think. The TV show Riptide. He was Han Solo. Gosh,
Man, now I just want to hear Yoda yell, "Shut up, cunt."
Okay, you need to reference that one. I don't know what that's from.
Dexter. It's
in Dexter when John Lithgow, right? Okay,
yeah, it's the big record scratch moment when right before everything goes to shit.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that John Lithgow came up playing bad guys. I mean, one of his first nice roles was The World According to Garp.
I remember Cliffhanger.
He's in the movie Blowout with John Travolta. He's the killer. And he was really good. He's very creepy. That's why when he played in that movie Raising Cain, I liked it. People are like, oh, he's too nice to play. I'm like, did you not see Blowout? The fucking guy's a psycho.
Of course, I just watched 1991 with Denzel, Ricochet with John Lithgow as an insane bad.
Yeah, again, a great villain, man. He's also a villain in Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I think Lithgow does a great job as villains. As affable as he can be, he can play psycho really well. And Ricochet is a good film. I like Kevin Pollak in that film. He's one of my favorite parts of that film.
Yeah.
Doesn't he do a Shatner impression in that one? Or
in fact, he does a few. Yeah.
It's like the director says, fuck it, do it. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, last night, we generally watch a film a night. Last night we watched, not Jessica 8, Jennifer 8. And
oh my God, I just added that back into my queue to watch again because it's been so long since I've seen it.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Lance Henriksen, Andy Garcia. What's her name? Is that Uma Thurman that's in there?
Yep.
Yeah, Uma Thurman. Back before her nostrils looked scary.
Yeah, she was 21 years old when she was in that. And
something happened in her 30s, man. The nares of her nostrils got really huge and they looked like vacuous fucking black holes that would suck all life into them if you got too close.
That's one way to put it.
Probably shouting at Quentin Tarantino.
It could be. But I like her as an actor. She's really good. Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
She made the whole Kill Bill films for me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, she did.
And it's sad we'll never get the third one because, even though apologies were made, I don't think she'll ever work with Quentin again because of what happened.
She has every right to refuse.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done that. It's absolutely wrong for putting her in that car and having her do her own stunt.
Well, he generally doesn't want to make sequels to his movies, generally.
He had initially, though, stated that he would like to do a volume 3. And I think everybody would have gone to see it because I enjoyed them. They're dumb because I make fun of his writing all the time, but I still enjoy them. They're pulp. They're pulp entertainment.
There's one thing that he knows how to do. It's make an exploitation film that rips off from everybody, but he makes
everybody. And it's like I've always said, Quentin Tarantino, is it homage? Really? It's obvious it's not homage.
That's the question.
If you are aware of it, it's not an homage.
He's finally starting to cop to a bit because he finally said, yeah, I ripped off the Plaza City on Fire, but whatever. I still love Norm Macdonald's parody of it. It's like, because my head is so big. In fact, if I don't sleep right, I'm going to fucking die.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald did like the best impression of him I ever saw. But no, he also stole from The Killing by Stanley Kubrick for that film.
He stole from
yeah,
but it's fine. I mean, I met the guy at conventions. He could be a little off-putting, but I've seen all of his movies and I like him. So hey, it is what it is. So that leads to the next question I wanted to ask, Mark. If they were to bring that to a new audience, because I think that remakes are good for one thing, introducing you to the original. And if for any reason they're good for that. If you were to see a proper remake made of this film that really was to be done not as a period piece, but shot, again, as our future, what filmmaker out there do you think would handle it best? any filmmaker with a good action background not from America. You cannot make a movie like this in the environment we find in.
Oh, yeah, it's too corrosive. Yeah.
It's just, it would be so woke and so specific and so anti-misogynist and blah, blah, blah. But if you had somebody from South Korea, China, Hong Kong, maybe even in Australia or something, because they can make some hard edge films there too. But I think it might be able to fly, but not from somebody here.
Not from an American studio.
For any budget, if you could raise the money like Frightener Part 2 did and do it on your own, sure, you might be able to do a really kick-ass reboot of it, but not from a studio. Nah.
No, there's one I'm going to say, Mark. Christopher McQuarrie. Because if you've ever seen Way of the Gun.
Yeah.
That's a good film. I like that film.
Yeah, well, again, it's not to say I couldn't, with a bit of research, find 10 directors who could do it. It's just they're not going to be allowed to do it here in the way that we would want to see it. They're just not going to be allowed.
Exactly. And here's my problem with it. If someone like Christopher McQuarrie did it, they'd probably make a very non-woke film, but you'd have Tom Cruise as Thorn.
Yeah. So
that wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't work for me as that character. I would want somebody. And it's funny. I started pointing out to Animal while watching the film. I'd pause the film and I go, look at that angle. Look at that angle of Heston. Arnold Schwarzenegger looks so much like him sometimes. It's bizarre.
He stopped like every couple of minutes.
I go, there, catch that angle right there? That's Arnold right there. That's Arnold's face. And I think that's one of the things that subconsciously affected a lot of us in America is that his subconscious resemblance to Heston. And Heston was a very beloved actor by our generation and the 2 generations before us. So I've always wondered if that played into it because Arnold really does kind of look like him sometimes.
That was the same problem with Marlon Brando and Burt Reynolds. Boy, when you see Burt, oh my God, he looks like his son. I mean, you're looking at it going, Mike, and
there's his laugh.
And Brando got pissed off about it. He goes, "Who's this guy who stole my face?"
Yeah, I remember that shit, dude. When we were kids, like he actually really got miffed about it and said something. Yeah, like, holy crap, why is he? But I don't know. I always liked Burt Reynolds too. I thought people didn't give him enough credit that he could actually act.
No, I thought he was. In fact, I'll have to send you a photo of it. I lived up in San Francisco, south of it. And there is a gay couple down the street. This was right after he did the centerfold spread in Cosmo.
Oh, Playgirl, right.
So my dad goes down there and he talks to the guy because he's a painter and he says, "Hey, can you do me an oil painting 3/4 size of this thing for my wife?" So he says, "Well, would you like me to move his arm and maybe put your head or your face on his head?" He goes, no, I just like it done. And I've got it in my front room. We had it then. And I display it with pride that I have that centerfold at 3/4 size in my front room.
Holy shit. That's awesome.
That's a great thing.
Man.
That's got to be a perfect thief deterrent. They just walk in and like, oh God, what the hell? I'm getting out of here.
Well, I guess it would be, but in California, it's more like an invitation. So,
oh damn it!
Well, this leads to a funny little story, and then I want to go back to asking questions about, like, if we were to do the film today, who should play Thorn, who should play Saul, each one of the characters, who should play Brock Peters, because he played that character great, by the way, as his captain. I love that character, but. When my daughter was 12, 13, hitting that, she was going from tween to teen, and she had a sleepover with her best friends. And I go walking back to the bedroom to ask them what they wanted for dinner. I could make pizza. I could bake something nice. What would you girls like? And something caught my peripheral attention. And there's a whiteboard on the wall. And once again, it's your subconscious. My subconscious picked something up, and I slowly turned and looked. And there on my daughter's wall on a whiteboard was drawn a gigantic, veiny penis. and it had a smile on it, on its head. And I just stood there and I stared at it. And the more I stared at it without doing anything, just staring at it, the girls started cackling like hens, just laughing. And I was not amused. I was freaked out by this. And all I could think was to ask, so did you think that putting the smile on the end of it didn't make it look fucking scary anymore? Like, what is that? And then I told him, get it off the wall. I don't ever want to see it again. And she still has it to this day. She refused to throw it away or wipe it off because it was drawn by her and her two best friends. But that was when I knew that I had lost my little girl. And so that is in relation to your story about Burt Reynolds' penis.
Okay. I was wondering where you were going with that.
That was the connection.
That is when he started to curse at home again.
Yeah, I stopped PGing things up with my kid. I went full army mode. Fuck that.
She didn't deserve it anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I also, not to mention, I got a butt call from her one time. She butt dialed me, and I got to hear her and her friends talking, and it was just heartbreaking. It just, it kills me. But now she's an adult. I accept it. My daughter's got a foul mouth like me. But I want to get into the casting if there was a remake of this film, because I would like to see such a classic film like this be remade, but be remade properly, if they're going to do it. Because once again, I look at remakes as also a really good way to promote the original film. And it introduces an audience that didn't know about that film, a whole new audience. And nobody ever thinks about that. And I'm like, yes, it absolutely does. Every time you make a Star Trek movie or TV show, no matter how bad it is, it introduces a nerd to real Star Trek, and the real thing, classic. And if I were to do a film like that, now he's too old now, but Arnold would have been good for that role. But once again, would have been too action and not serious enough. Like Total Recall, it's fun. It's popcorn fare.
I'm gonna go.
I would want to go more serious.
No, for Saul, his elder partner that dies, Anthony Hopkins.
Hopkins is a good actor. Alan Arkin is another actor that I like a lot.
Yeah,
that would do really well as Saul. And because Saul's an old Jewish guy, in the story. His name is Saul Roth, right? As I recall.
Yes.
Yeah, Saul Roth. And, you don't get much more New York Jewish than Alan Arkin. That guy nails that accent. And
how about Huge Jackman?
Hugh Jackman would be great. Huge, you do that too. Huge Jackman. I love doing that.
Yeah, I think for Thorne he might be good.
He would be perfect, to be honest with you. That would be a really good role for him.
Yeah, I can see that.
The guy that plays Reacher could work for Thorne also.
Yeah,
he's a good actor, but I don't know if he's got the star power for a movie. You'd want somebody with some legitimate star power to play that character. But he is a good actor. I actually like his acting, by the way. I think he's a good actor.
So for Brock Peters, I've got two. For a big budget, it would be Denzel. And for a smaller one, it would be Michael Jai White.
Michael Jai White. Yeah. I got to tell you, if you were younger, I would pick someone like Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
He's too old for the part.
In fact, he could play Saul now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's at that right age, where he can play somebody that's been there.
So what creepy jerk would you want to have as Gilbert, the guy who hits the guy in the head with the crowbar?
Oh my God, that scene. I was watching it and I still react to that when he does that. I'm like, oh, I just like that when he goes, oh, it's the combat medic in me. It's like, oh.
Now, granted, he's too old now, but the guy who does the voice for Chucky,
Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Or the the guy who was in the Suicide Squad, the one that betrays them all.
Peacemaker
never-
guy?
Oh, Peacemaker, John Cena.
No. At the beginning of the movie. The
Oh,
one
I
that-
forget. I didn't like that film, so I don't remember who betrayed him. I forget. Any of you guys remember? I don't remember.
I couldn't find the name.
I tried
No,
to forget
sure.
that movie.
Thorne should not be a young person, and he needs to be somebody tall. I'm sorry. Thorne needs to be imposing. It's sort of like it was such a reach with Tom Cruise's Jack Reacher because he's not threatening
This one.
in any way. Pete Davidson.
He just
Yeah,
has to
because-
be younger than Saul.
No, for the
I don't like Pete Davidson.
No, I don't either.
I can't stand him.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
I have seen many a shit in my life as in the medical field that are more interesting looking than Pete Davidson and probably even better actors. I can't stand that fucking guy.
So here's a really hard one, and I've been thinking, and I've got a browser open, and I look at the guys who are still acting and stuff. Who would be the Chuck Connors character? That's a tough one, I think.
Man,
What's his name? Is in all the James Gunn movies. Rourke, I forget his name. The guy who was Yondu.
Oh, Michael Rooker.
Michael Madsen.
Michael Rooker.
Oh, Michael
Michael
Rooker. Yeah, Michael Rooker. Michael Madsen. Well, there's a name that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. No,
that's-
Madsen will do anything.
Madsen would be good in that because he's a creepy dude, and I think he's creepy in real life.
Because he is.
Yeah, he's just a weird dude.
Cheryl would be Margot Robbie or Ava Green or just one of those.
I think that Margot is a great actor. Also, Hugo Weaving's niece would be good because she looks a lot like Margot Robbie, and she would be great in that character. She was in that hide and seek movie where that's a good fucking movie. I enjoyed the crap out of that.
She could work well there too.
How about
like Anna Taylor-Joy though, because she's.
How about this one for for the Chuck Connors? All right.
Matthew McConaughey, hell yeah! Look, until you see him as that psycho sheriff, you've not seen him go evil.
Also, in a Mud, I thought he was excellent.
Oh, he was very good in Mud.
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
It's great.
Because he's a villain in that, and people don't realize it when they go see it.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey is going to be awesome. Oh my God, he's a bad guy.
Hey, don't forget Bill Paxton's directorial debut. What was it? The one with the axe, where he plays his kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the movie. Hold on,
Agility or something like that.
Yeah,
Frailty.
Yeah.
Frailty just popped in
And
my-
if Bill
You said
Paxton-
fragility, and that triggered it.
If Bill Paxton from 20 years ago was alive still, he could fill out all the roles.
He shouldn't
in
be
this movie.
dead. It is such a fucking shame we lost him.
Oh, I know.
Boss,
He
we
was
have a
he
super
was one of
sticker.
the few great American character actors. He was like, it's hard to find those today. You get it every once in a while, and Bill Paxton was one of those guys. And I remember even my dad separately, he and I keyed in on him in the movie. Was it Weird Science or Weird Science?
Chet.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
Chet.
We keyed in on him, going, this guy's going places. He is a very good character actor. You get classic. Let me look it up real quick.
Well, it's like Live, Die, and Repeat would not have been as good without him. It just would not have been.
As the he's not a drill instructor, but he's kind of like one.
Yes.
I love that movie.
He just brought in a huge, gravitas to that film.
Yes, he did. Strother Martin is another actor like Bill Paxton. That man, he was one of the best character actors of his time. And there's a great story with Jimmy Stewart and him, because Jimmy Stewart did 3 movies with him and a TV show. And director's about to shoot a scene with him. And I can't remember if it was John Ford with The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance or what, but it was one of those films, Westerns. And Strother Martin had a pencil and a string in his hands. And Stewart's like, I'm not going to do this scene with him unless you take one of those things away, because no one's even going to notice me if he has both of those.
Yep.
because he would steal scenes. He was always fiddling, moving around with his hands. Go watch him in a movie. Watch what he does. Yeah. He is a scene stealing motherfucker right there, Strother Martin. But he's a great actor. I loved him in everything he was ever in, man. That guy was a good character actor.
And of course, the ace in the hole for the whole movie, Dick Van Patten. Come this way, sir.
Yes, that was so fucking funny because I pointed that out to Anima. I went, oh shit, I forgot Dick Van Patten's in this fucking movie.
Yeah,
I said he was a big TV star from 8 Is Enough, you know. But let's see, we got some super chats, did we?
No, a super sticker from 6, no less.
All right, let's see that one. 6.99 cents. I don't know what it is.
It's the pile of poop.
Is it the poop? She's giving me shit.
And not even for $1, but 99 cents. Come on, 6. At least make it $1 worth of poop.
It's $1 worth of poop. I think they take a penny out of it. I don't know.
SOB.
You saw SOB. And by the way, that is another scene I do like to go back to. Is like after stealing from that apartment, he goes back to the apartment like 2 times, right? Yes. One during the party where all the girls.
I think you would too.
Yes. Entertaining the idea of guilt-free sex. Hell yeah. You know, and but he goes there and finds out that he actually likes this girl. They're becoming something more than just him going over there to get a bang. You know, and
she likes him too.
Yeah, she does. She talks him into staying. You know, because he's going to leave. She goes, "You can take a shower or a bath. We have hot water."
And he's like,
"And now we have this one."
Oh, yeah. See, Anima, see what you did? So it's 1901, so it equals $20.
You're amazing, 6.
We love you, 6. You're awesome.
That's she
is. She's one of the best of us. And
so in the trifecta, who else got tired of seeing a half-naked Heston? Come on! The guy was showing off his body, and at his age,
yeah, because he was in great shape, and he liked to do it. He liked doing that. And you know, I wanted to point something out about him too, because he had always impressed me as a person, because he was a diehard Republican conservative, and even though I'm not Republican, I'm conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I don't support the Republican Party. But my God, man, this guy was ahead of everybody in Hollywood. He was out there fighting for civil rights when it wasn't a thing in Hollywood. In fact, it was a risk at your career to do it. And he didn't care. He was out in front for standing for their rights, and just all sorts of stuff. He was always ahead of the bar, and I always admired him for that. But I want to thank you, Anima, 6 for the 1901 and 99 cents, the $20 for today. Thank God she works in a field where she makes halfway decent money. Otherwise, I'd feel guilty over that.
I have another suggestion for the casting of this movie. Let me finish before you come.
I got to do my video.
Okay.
I got to do my video. Then you get to do it. So I want to thank you with this brand new video that I put together, captured just for today.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
That look on her face.
Best line of that entire movie.
Yes, it is. And then one more for you, 6, because you did 2.
Betty, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!
Best fucking over actor ever.
Great movie though. Luc Besson.
Leon, the Professional. I love that movie. Has one of my favorite moments. Matilda wanted you to have this, I think, and he hands it to him, and he
This is a gift from Matilda.
Yeah, it's from Matilda, and it's a fucking pin. And then he opens the jacket to see all those grenades, and he doesn't know which one it goes to. It's like fucking great cinematic moment. Yeah, man. Are we nearing the end?
No. Take a quick look at the private chat.
Yeah. Apparently, we shot down the Chinese balloon off the coast of
that
South
took
Carolina.
a while.
only took it all the way across the United States.
Well, what was that thing last night at like our time, 9:00, and they showed something that was slowly with a plume of material behind it. They showed something last night.
Oh shit! I don't know about that. I know that I think it's over Central America or Mexico.
Yeah,
they found another one. And look, man, this shit don't wash. And I tell people all the time, we have to worry about balloons for a reason. People like to think, oh, that's low tech. That's not a threat. I'm like, if you put a device in a balloon and launch it locally over the grid, you can knock out the grid with an EMP pulse from a balloon.
Well, it's much harder to take the photos too. I mean,
and this is before the Air Force or the military air could do anything, because you would launch it locally. Because we're a melting pot of cultures. So seeing someone from another country launching weather balloons in a park really is going to throw off any warning signs. So I've always, I've been scared of those things since I was a kid. Like,
so
you can do a lot of damage.
So why haven't they remade Soylent Green when they remade the other two of the trifecta, right? Why haven't
I know.
And they
Soylent Green
remakes.
Soylent Green deals with so many topics that we constantly do worry about, with climate, with and though I'm not worried about climate. Wow, look at that.
Yeah,
is that the balloon?
Yeah, what?
I guess it is, but the one I saw last night showed a plume of stuff that came down from the top of the screen to the bottom.
Okay, that's scary. That's scary. That scares me.
Yep. But
there's nothing stopping them from attaching a nuke from it, sending it over,
you can
and having it released.
Dirty bombs can have anything from nuclear material to biological. And you can launch them with a weather balloon. I did it in my book, Sleepers. That's how the terrorists do what they did in that one. And this is global. They set these things off around the globe. And in the end of the first act, 70% of all life on Earth, human life, is killed. And only 30% of humanity survived. And it's one of those scary things that really sits in the back of my mind. Because it scares me. Because I know
I can answer that because of the height it is.
Yeah, because it was like so far up, it looked like a dot in the sky.
Yeah,
you would need to have like a high-powered rifle with what's the most powerful scope we got going now for rifles? It's the one they put on the Barrett. I know they put it on that because that can shoot up a mile.
Yeah, that wouldn't even hit it though.
You don't think so?
2 miles.
No, it was like 40, 50,000 feet in the air at least.
That's not that far. Yeah.
Yeah, they had said the planes were at 30 and this was at 60.
Okay, was it 60?
God damn, man. Look, people.
Another picture.
I'm not trying to scare the shit out of you, but I want to just press upon you. Watch for people launching balloons. I shit you not. It is a low-tech threat to our power grid and a low-tech threat to life itself with disease and nuclear and biological weapons, handmade.
Also, the other view of this, since you and Don Ecker do your show, so many people are pointing so many things up there 24/7 just to see what they can see, right? That when the government came out and said, well, the public can keep track of it on their own, we wouldn't have known about it without us. You know that. It's because we have thousands of people who are pointing cameras up there like Skywatcher and everybody else, and we saw it. That's the only reason we know about it.
Skywatcher, thank you, Bill, for producing the show again today. I'm so glad to be part of KGRA. I'm like really proud of it that we're part of KGRA now. And so speaking of KGRA, it is now time for us to go to our first commercial break. Everybody, please stick around and don't judge me on my intro and outro videos. No, actually, do judge me because it's funny.
I judge you all the time, Gary.
Thank you, Shanatsky. Fuck you, by the way.
Fuck you, Gary.
Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom. An anniversary without her husband. Her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived! Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA. Pop Culture Minefield! God, what a voice.
Oh my God, the balloons didn't kill us while we were away.
Oh my God, John is eating people. He's eating
That's
his
good
Soylent
people.
Green. Yeah, good people.
Actually, not
yummy.
really. It's not really good people.
No, but
I wanted to point out some things that were said real quick. I was Bush McFadden. I was staring at a veiny penis, Gary. That's true. True story. Let's see. We could all be wiped out so fast and all die without having any idea what happened or why. And as I was talking about on a show yesterday, if it's biological, outside of fungus, you're always going to have 1 to 5 percentile that survive an outbreak purely because of the mutation in the human gene, where 1% of all humans won't even get infected by a virus or a bacteria. And then you'll have up to about 5% who will quickly recover from any kind of virus. But when it comes to fungus, which is what I like about that show, The Last of Us, is fungus would be 100% fatality if fungus decided or found a way to become threatening to human life. So, but yeah, absolutely agree. I'm higher than that when he's talking about the thing right now, because Monkey Jeebus never leaves his bong. He always has his bong with him. To which Six says, I mooned the balloon as it flew over my house. There you go.
So I got.
Why am I not surprised?
So I got something to show you guys, because I used to be a collector, not so much now, but I got this.
Oh shit!
And this came with now that thing on his head, I put that on there, but this came with all the 8 movies, all the 8 TV shows, and all the cartoons.
damn.
Is that supposed to be Cornelius?
Yeah.
No, it's
Oh no, that's from the where
Caesar.
they take over Earth.
Conquest.
Is
Yeah.
it Conquest?
Oh, Caesar. Is that
Caesar. Thank you, Caesar.
Yeah.
That's Caesar.
So
All played by the same actor.
So the thing was expensive, but when I saw that, I said, I think the credit card's going to take a hit today.
There you go. That's really nice, man. I like that. So Andy Morrow's here. Hey, Andy, what's going on? Who else has popped in?
No, nobody else in a while.
Okay, good. I don't want to miss anybody. So going back to the casting process, I think the Chuck Connors part is one of the hardest ones to cast. And if you want to be taken seriously, I would avoid Jason Statham.
Yeah.
But Jason Statham is really fucking a scary dude. And anybody that doesn't understand how menacing that guy can be hasn't seen him play villains before. But I don't know, man. Who would be a really good modern day Chuck Connors? Because Chuck Connors was the shit.
How about Chris
I told
Pratt?
you Rucker. I mean that
Chris Pratt, he's too likable.
Well, yeah, but wait. I saw that you guys just did a show on his last show.
His ability to act.
See?
He's so affable, though. It's what I worry about. But the fact is, he plays that scene when he guts that dude is some of the best acting I'd ever seen him do.
Right.
And then he puts that tomahawk right in that dude's head.
Chivas actually has a good selection. A suggestion.
Oh, what's
Michael Shannon?
Michael Shannon,
Yeah.
I agree, absolutely, because he is a horrifying human being. Somebody said, hey, did you hear Michael Shannon's going to be in a comedy? I said, it's going to fail because he's horrifying. He is the most intense fucking human being I've ever seen.
The guy who could play the role who hits the dude in the head. I don't remember his name, but he's the always greasy-haired guy from The Walking Dead.
Oh,
Norman Reedus.
Yeah,
Norman Reedus.
Now that would be a good role for him.
That is really good casting. Yes, that's spot on. Because he even kind of resembles the guy in a certain way.
Yeah. Because you got to be kind of squirrely.
Yeah, he would be good in that. Zax is here. What's up, Kyle? All I can think.
Another casting for this movie. Let me finish. Greta Thunberg is a person that gets run over by the bulldozer and then backs over her corpse again.
How dare you?
And again.
How dare you? Somebody's got that audio.
How dare you?
There it is.
I shouldn't be here right now. You're right.
I loved it when a reporter confronted her, like she matters somehow, but confronted her and says, why are you guys going after Western countries that are compliant? Why aren't you going after China and India? And she just kind of smiled it off. It's like,
because it's a grift.
It is a grift.
It's just a grift.
And a lot of girls feel that way.
Like in the movie Soylent Green, they're showing proof of the issues and a consistency of the issues that cause this problem. The problem with the grift and, the bears are going to die and the ice is melting. We're going through the same sort of ups and downs that we've always gone through with a little bit of increases here and there that we've also had. So there's a consistency of the inconsistency in our reality. In the movie, they show a consistency of their reality that, it's a shit show.
Yeah, I tell you. Hey, War Monkey. Good to see you, man. Let's see. What is this? Before China and India don't care. And I know. They're not going to give two shits. Communist China and fucking India go, fuck you. And then go on about business. It's easy to guilt Americans, and I personally I've had my fill of it. Like when I hear somebody from Europe going, "Why do you charge so much for your medicine there?" And I'm like, because we have to pick up the tab for Europe and the rest of the world. That's why.
And we have to pay for the grift.
If you're going to update a lot of this movie for like what we modern, you would probably want to do stuff like that. You would probably be that they're shipping Soylent Green off to like India and China because they
Yeah, you would have to make it more global because in the movie it's very centrist to the city.
You'd just be able to buy it at Walmart.
You know.
So you think it'd be sort of like a lot of people don't like the zombie film that Brad Pitt did. I don't care about
World War Z.
World War Z.
And I don't care about the book, and I do have the book, and I don't care if it doesn't follow the book. But it seems
the
like
book's a diary. That's all it is.
Right. It seems like Soylent Green could possibly follow a similar kind of a deal there, where it's in your town, like when it first happens, but then they go big with it, and they say, "Holy crap!"
Where did it's? I like where they do this with The Last of Us. The fungus started in fucking wheat,
right?
Flour, you know, and holy crap!
And it took a while because you had to eat it and eat it and eat it
for it to build up in the system. It's just so, you know, something along those lines. The science fiction is there. You go back to the original book and you actually interpret the science fiction from the book. And a lot of my favorite sci-fi films were adapted. And you look at all three Heston films, the trifecta, all three were adapted from books, with Monkey Planet by Pierre Boulle for Planet of the Apes. You had
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend for the Omega Man, and then for this one, it was, I forget the title of the book.
Too Many, I think, was the name of it.
We need more room or something.
Yeah. There's something like that, and I like stuff like that, man. And I remember in film school when I was for screenwriting, we were taught that if you want to adapt a story, the best stories to adapt are short stories or short novels. You know, novels that don't go over 200 pages.
I thought it was from the World Economic Forum's master plan.
Yeah.
If I was doing this as a story, that would be part of it. There would be a wide, overreaching conspiracy, and part of it would be that they just want to get rid of the plebs because they finally automate things enough where they don't need a large population. So they want to turn the world into a paradise. So instead of the oceans dying, it'd be, you know, there's actually a lot of areas they've locked off from people and everyone thinks the world's gone to shit. But it's more so that they've been told it's gone to shit and that they need to sacrifice themselves and die to save humanity.
Which is kind of what they want to do now, at least a portion of the people.
Well, yeah, this would be my, updating commentary with it.
Right.
And also I'd update, the science because, 1970s. I mean, we've had 50 years of figuring more of this stuff out. So we definitely would have to update the models and all the other stuff.
So, well, it was in that era that we saw the first article come out in 1978 on greenhouse gases. And they knew that greenhouse gases weren't really a threat. All the climatologists were like, it's not a threat. The reason why is because humans can't impact the environment that much. But one climatologist wrote an article in 1978 that got published that said humans, because they were terrified of the mini ice age. What they didn't understand is that the sun said, fuck you, I'm not giving you an ice age and cooling down this time. I'm going to do something that causes El Nino. So we thought we could predict what the sun was going to do, and the sun taught us a lesson, and said, "No, I'm going to do something different."
So you're telling me that Spock on In Search of lied to me? Is that what you're saying?
That could have actually been a plot point for this hypothetical remake. That the entire reason all this happened was that their models, their scientists, like 20 years ago, told them that everything was going to go. And so to save the world, they had to do all this stuff. So they did all these absolutely terrible things, and they find out that's not the case.
Yeah.
But they've done all these terrible things. Are they going to admit to it? Or are you going to cover it up and just try to write it out and hope no one finds out?
That's a bit too close to home.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, using real science is so important in good science fiction. Hey, we got a couple of new people. E. Clay Thomason is here, and Small Time Republic. What is up, guys?
Hey, Matt.
So for the science, you would definitely want to show science making mistakes, because science makes mistakes all the fucking time. That's why when they speak in absolutes, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Haven't we learned about our hubris in the past of speaking in absolutes?
No.
Because we were expecting another mini ice age, because we had one every 100 years, and it got so cold in the 1800s that London's Thames River was frozen for quite a while, and they were able to set up shops on the river, and people would go off the bridge, walk down onto the water, and go out there and hit these shops. They show it actually in a very good episode of Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi. And I'm like, oh, wow, they really showed that. That's really cool. But then in the 20th century, we expected it. From around 1950 through to 1980 was that window, and it just didn't happen. But we got El Nino instead. And so once the mini ice age didn't happen, science, climate, what do you call those? Climate panic people that panic over everything. They love to do that. It's all about money. It has to do with controlling money. They start going with the greenhouse gas thing. And it's all based on that one fucking article. And in the article, the guy's theory said that humans could conceivably increase the Earth's temperature by as much as 3 degrees if we really pushed it during a mini ice age in order to save agriculture and all that. And the guy who allowed that publication later said, I wished I'd never let that get published, because that's what started all of this. And he's an actual climatologist. And but you get these guys that they're political creatures. They're geopolitical, financial political. It's all about controlling capitalism. It's all about bringing everything to a halt and going into a new world government, which is absolutely, whether you like it or not, is a communist form of government. And they want to control the economies of the world and make people dependent on everything. And we've seen it fail constantly, and yet they still want to keep doing this. It just fails every time. So where do you take that science and make it work without sounding like you're one of these assholes, climate assholes?
Let's see. I'd say year would be 2066, just because that's a nice sounding year, because that's what you always do.
You want to go ahead about 30, 40 years, yeah.
Yeah. You always get 3 or 4 years ahead, because it has to be close so that people could conceivably see it happening. Otherwise, you go to Star Trek and people don't care, because we're never going to see that future. It's great, but we're never going to see it. So 2066, guy who's, I don't know, one of the proverbial head climate scientists now, instead of, I forget what he was in the original. He was I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. He was involved with this, take the plankton.
Yeah, because it all dealt with what do you call it? Ocean biology, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I forget it.
Yeah, so you would have, instead of potentially an ocean biologist, you'd have head climate and agricultural scientists, because that would be a major study field in this world where resources are extremely thinned out, has been killed for some reason. And whoever our current Detective Thornton is brought in to look into, and of course, he's going to be doing the same thing he's doing in the movie, because resources are scarce. So, contraband. In fact, he could probably be involved with smuggling contraband. You'd be having what's the equivalent of running drugs, but in this case, it would be just apples, or it would probably be freeze dried apples, because that way they last longer.
Right.
Well, wouldn't you want someone in their 30s then for Thorn? Because you'd want someone who didn't remember what it was actually like before everything collapsed.
Well, if you have them born right around my kid, youngest kid's time, they would remember it. But somebody born in the 2020s and they're in their 40s, I would make them in their 40s. Heston was in his 50s, I think, when he played that role, but easily was able to play someone in their 40s, especially as stunt double. And That was a joke. No drums? Okay, fuck you. Nothing.
What was the last? What was the last apocalyptic film that did well at the theater? Because it's kind of run its course. We get it on TV now all the time, but when you get something like the Denzel film where he was basically a religious guy who had to find the Bible and bring the Bible to somebody. I forget the name.
Yeah, that was like 2000.
The Book of Eli?
Book of Eli.
Yeah.
Right, which was a great film, I thought. I thought the girl was miscast, but she's cute, so I went with it. But it didn't do all that great, right? So 2012, all these sorts of movies, they really don't like that when the moon hits of the
Moonfall.
Moonfall.
Here's the thing, though: the Roland Emmerich stuff is basically disaster porn.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But point to some that he didn't make. They don't seem to fly that well at the theater so much now.
Well, we'll see how Knock at the Cabin Door does.
That's different, though. I mean, that's such a small, sort of quiet picture compared to even Green.
Yeah, it probably doesn't even require that much to break even, because he shot that on a smaller budget. But you get films like Mad Max.
But that's from the late 70s. See, that's what
I mean the newer
Fury
one,
Road.
it's still Fury Road.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
that might
really
be the last one that made good money.
2012.
I hated Snowpiercer. I thought it was a really terrible idea. Oblivion was good with Tom Cruise. I like that film, and I think it made its money.
Oblivion made its money. So they just don't make that much. It's just not, it's not like Zombie Apocalypse where it's just like, we have to keep making these. This is somewhat socially conscious sci-fi and dealing with society.
I disliked I Am
now.
Legend. I disliked the Will Smith I Am Legend.
I liked it except for the CGI.
CG, because you and I talked about this before. I think that if they'd gone with practical effects, it would have worked.
Yep.
But the CG took me out of the film, and it just I couldn't enjoy it because of it.
Are we wanting post-apocalyptic movies or?
Well, we're talking about right now apocalypse to post-apocalypse.
Well, there has to be a reason that Soylent Green would happen. It would either be a slow process or it would be a catastrophic event.
It probably, if we're commenting on what's going on now and how we
because red algae is a great threat to life on Earth.
If we're
Greenland, well, that's comet slang. Yeah, never mind. That's.
Well, no, I think that's a good example of something of a similar plot that did not that great. I mean, I dig the lead actor. His new movie, Plane. I mean, I just dug it. Now, most people are going to say we've seen it all before, but Plane was so much fun.
Quiet Place 2.
Surrogates. That was
I have never watched either of them, by the way. I just not interested for some reason.
But
I don't know why.
Things you could add, though. There's a couple things you could add.
Oh, I like Greenland. It was a good film.
One of them you could add. You could actually add where you literally have carbon credits. You are literally allowed only so much. So, like, you go to, for instance, you go take a shower. You have to put your card up to it, and you designate how much water you're allowed to use. And you would even modify it so you could space your shower out, or do a full blast.
It sounds like Northern California.
Yeah, we're already doing that shit. But this would be like that on crack, and it would be all over the world.
By the way, I lived in Northern California myself. I lived in Sac of Tomatoes, and my God, we would get so fucking pissed off because Southern California doesn't have their own fucking water. They get water from Northern California. And they overuse it, and next thing you know, we're not allowed to use water. You'll get fined or even arrested if you get caught watering your lawn.
Oh, yeah, kind of shit. Even better one. We keep voting for the same people, don't we?
Idiots.
Yep. Another one we could do it because this would just be extrapolating out, which is what you do in sci-fi. Because in California, for instance, we have the California redemption value. How about you just put it on there that, this would be a very subtle thing. When you go to the checkout, it's like how much, your carbon taxes are. So carbon tax is added on. The carbon tax is the highest tax, and the prices on things keep going up. In fact, it would be even more evil because you'd pick something up, it'd be listed as a low price, then you go in, and it would go 2, 3, 4 times the initial cost because of the carbon associated with it. And you would have like a person with a notebook just writing on like, I don't know if I have the budget for this. Bring it up.
So then if you had that, you would have 2 reasons to basically entice or to kill the people, that they're either misusing and trying to rip the system off, or they just can't afford to stay alive, right? So you turn them into Soylent Green.
Yeah. I mean, it's that, there'd be people who are maxing out, and then, you'd be given options. I mean, we already have assisted suicide in Canada.
Yes,
so that could be like one of the options that comes to it is like, you're maxed out on your carbon credits. Do you want to take out a loan and have to do some community service that, undoes your carbon print? Or would you, maybe get some type of injections that makes it so that you don't function as well, but you don't burn up as much oxygen and resources? Like you could do all sorts of things that people are forced to do to survive in this world, because they're not given any alternative.
And you could game the system by saying, look, here's your choice. You're either going to work in the sewer for the next 10 years, or we can take care of you.
Yeah, literal shit jobs.
Yeah. Or even better, you'd have people who have put some of their loved ones into vegetative states. And much like with some people do with Social Security, there's some people who are living large because they have family members that they've basically put into a comas where they're using low levels of resources, and then they just take their cards and start using them. And would be an entire black market built just around that.
Boy, I'm telling you, these are some fun ideas we're coming up with here. I'm telling you. I still like the idea of red algae too for killing life in the ocean, because it is so dangerous to.
Well, how about pull something that's supposedly going on right now in New Jersey as they look to put in the pylons for the thousands of windmills, and the technology that they use to find out where to put the pylons seem to be killing the whales.
Even better one, they've put up a bunch of those windmills that are supposed to generate the electricity, but birds are dying on troves. Like, they just keep falling out of the sky because they keep getting killed by the equipment. Because that's what's actually going on in some of these areas that they don't.
And the solar panels that will cover thousands of acres, and then all of a sudden, when it does rain, it gets in the way, and you can't grow this and that. You could kind of turn it on its head, right, and say, "Look at all the good stuff we've been trying to do, and the batteries for the Teslas, and the this and the that." But then they show what Africa looks like, nothing but potholes everywhere.
It's absolutely a great criticism of going to extremes.
Yes.
A great criticism, because that's what these activists want to do. They always want to go to extremes.
And it's all based on what? Emotion.
Yep, feelings.
Not based on evidence or reason. You base it on emotion. And a lot of the plots that we love are based on emotion, right? Because you go, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Don't open the door. Come on.
I'm going to tell you, because I grew up in the black community of Fredericksburg, Virginia. There's nothing more fun than going to see an action movie with all your black friends.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
I was like, you guys really do talk to the screen. Like Eddie Murphy, when he did that, he's like, old man, dropped your gun going through the window. What you gonna do now? Your ass, I guess. Great scene. Eclay Thompson says, can you get enough water from... That's actually a good question, because I actually just talked about this. I think the last person we ever need to listen to talk about this was on Joe Rogan. You had, what's his name? The astrophysicist that was involved with Cosmos, the reboot of Cosmos.
Oh, Neil Tyson deGrasse.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. And it's it won't happen because it costs money. And I'm like, look, man, the left notoriously loves to throw money at things. So don't fucking say that. That's a piss poor fucking answer. That is a scientist saying that. It blew my fucking mind.
It's because
I'm sitting to go, how much do you guys throw money at shit? Solar went under. How many solar places went under? You know, all these.
How many rare metals got spent on this shit?
Billions upon billions. Now let's go to Southern California and teach them how to build, the ability to desalinate. You would have foundries on the beaches or near the water that would pumping stations that would pump the water in there to the desalination. There's several ways to desalinate. One of the main ones that we were taught was to put it into a thing where it heats up and you capture the mist coming off of it. But you still have to do it like a couple times because a little bit of the sodium will get through. You have to get it to where there's no sodium in there. And it is possible to go through it. You have reverse osmosis is another way of doing it. But the thing is, they want to throw money at bad ideas. That's all they ever fucking do is throw money at bad ideas.
Well,
freaking roadways. That'll be
all a grift. The train to nowhere is a grift. The desal plants are too expensive, and what are you going to do with the salt? You have to reinvent the wheel. Other places are doing this. It comes down to the nuclear plants. Gee, when's the last time you heard France or Germany had one that was in trouble? You haven't, had you? No, because they build them all to the same spec, all of them, and they run them all the same way, and they don't go with the lowest bids.
Yep.
We could do that, but the grift is too big. It's such a huge. Right now in California, we spend, I think it was $10 million a week on the train because we signed contracts ahead of time, and the train's not being built, right? And if you wanted to put in a bid, if anybody on the panel here had something remotely associated with that train system, you were paid $1 million to put in your bid. If they accepted it or not. That's California.
It would probably be a good commentary then in relation to it. Part of the, showing disaster and everything else is you would just show the remnants of the green movement. In other words, showing that all this stuff failed.
Yeah.
In fact,
that would never get made, though.
No, it won't get made from a proper studio. But could you imagine The Last of Us and the buildings and all that great work they did there? But you look out on the plane and there's all these windmills broken down and everything.
I got a great visual image. You have like those giant dishes for solar collectors. They're all rusted over, broken down, and trees, branches, greenery is growing up from them. In other words, nature just said, that's nice, and it just came back. It's nothing that we can actually use.
Nature will find a way.
Yeah. Life finds a way would almost be the point of like this newer version. Because things have changed from when it is. So do you take the original story verbatim, or do you take the spirit of what was trying to go after and then, take what we know now and try to take those ideas and then bring them into the modern era? Not update for a modern audience, but where would this go given what we know now from what they knew when they wrote that back in the 70s?
Yeah. Again, you could do all this if you raise the money through social, but John's right. It just can't be made by Hollywood. They're just oh God, they're just so woke.
Definitely, but I wanted to throw a couple of things out here that I thought would work really well. As far as lead actors go, now I know this is who I think that Hollywood would pick if they were to remake the film with a big major studio. We know exactly what they would end up doing. They would absolutely go for gender flipping it, and that's who they would probably pick to play the Heston character of Thorne. And I would dislike that a lot.
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron, whatever her name is.
No, I was thinking
Oh, you were, yeah. Okay.
Well, wait a minute. If that was Carano, I'd go for it because she could fit the bill, right?
Yeah, but no, that's how Hollywood would do the leading man character. They would gender flip it. But this is who I would actually probably pick myself to play Thorn.
Nice.
Sure.
Because he's in the right age, and he can handle physical action very well. He can be affable while also being an asshole on screen. And it doesn't count that I actually know him and his brother. And I like his brother, Doug. Really nice guy.
And he showed at his age that he can pull his shirt off on a roof in Southern California and look mighty handsome still.
Oh, that's a good fucking movie. That is, in my opinion, the best Quentin Tarantino film ever made.
It's good.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What I liked about it is, because here's my problem with his writing. One, he usually writes a snappy, great first act. Then he does this weird meandering thing for act 2 that you don't know where the fuck is it going. It just sort of goes all over the place. And then act 3 begins with sudden beginning of narration that just comes out of nowhere, you know. And but suddenly we come back to a story again, and we finally get an actual ending to the film. And it's the first time where all 3 acts worked well together. I'm not saying he wrote it great, but it worked.
I thought Pulp Fiction did the same thing, though.
It works too. I have problems with Pulp Fiction, but my biggest beef with him is the heist movie. I'm going to make a heist movie, man, that has no heist in it, man.
Gary, I just had a thought of how you could make this crossover and make both sides uncomfortable. Here's what you do with it. Because of the environmental disaster with it, all girls at a certain age, when they're about to go through puberty, they take out all their eggs, so they can't have kids until the state says they can. And one of the things the Charlie Thorne character, whatever woman you would hire if you did the gender flip, would be she actually wants to be able to afford to even have a kid because that's regulated, because we have environmental issues.
Yeah,
do that.
By the way,
and that
another
would drive
actor,
both sides nuts, because where does this stand on the political spectrum now? It's a left and a right side at the same time.
Here's another actor to consider, by the way, just popped into my head. Lawrence Fishburne as the police captain. But you brought up Denzel earlier, and Denzel would actually be great in the part of Thorne. Another actor I think that would be
too old.
What's that?
Isn't he too old?
I don't know, man, because he can still play a decade younger than what he is, and he's right around my age. So I think he could pull it off. I'm trying to think, who's another good actor? God. Oh, man, one that disappeared just popped in my head. Charles Dutton. Whatever the fuck happened to that dude?
Yeah, that's
because he'd be good as the captain too.
Yeah.
He just disappeared.
Here's maybe an analogy, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but here's an analogy of maybe how it would turn out if you had the studios in there. That would be the Matt Damon film where the plebs live on Earth, and then you got
Elysium.
Yeah, which I initially was going to love that thing, and then I freaking loathe that movie. I mean,
yeah, because once again, I don't want to talk shit about that director Blomkamp, but he's a good director. He's a good director, but he's a fucking socialist.
Yep.
And it gets really exhausting with the pushing of socialist ideology because it doesn't fucking work.
Like the one he did with the robot, same thing.
Chappie.
Yep, same. And I would have loved that movie, but he can't leave it out.
Yeah, he can't leave his.
And that might be one of the issues, believe it or not, even with Hollywood, of why they step back from him, because he's not getting any work at all.
Yeah, and I thought it was really odd because he's not really losing money with his films, so it's just weird. Another director who is kind of like that, but he still worked, was Richard Donner. Donner would throw little subtle things in there. His big thing was putting posters in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
Political posters. And you could see it in Scrooged. I'm not sure he did it in Superman, but he definitely did it in the Lethal Weapon films. Do you watch Shonsky?
Oh, I said Lethal Weapon 4. He talks about on the commentary track, so this isn't just some speculation.
Oh, no. I know this about him. And he admits to it. It's subtle. I'm not going to say it's what do they call that when it's subliminal? It's not subliminal. It's right there, right in front of you. The anti-gun thing, his anti-gun thing is all over the place in Lethal Weapon. Calling them cop killer bullets when not one cop was ever killed by one. I always thought that was funny. But, for this film, if they, Soylent Green is one of those films I would like to see adapted again and brought to a modern screen. But it has to be done by the right fucking people. And I wouldn't mind, like, race flipping these kinds of characters, I think is fine. It's not like established comic book characters, where they do that shit. It's just fucking dumb.
It's not like Thorne's Irish heritage played a big part of the plot. The whole point with it is that he's just a person who grew up in this world versus someone who would be from the audience's era.
Exactly.
So, and it's the compare and contrast.
And you just want a good actor who can handle both the action as well as the dramatic parts of it. So you need somebody like Denzel. And Denzel's ability to do drama is his subtlety in acting is like, if you've ever watched him play, what's that mobster he played that based on the true story Ridley Scott directed? God, man, his role in that was so amazing. When he kills Idris Elba, out in the middle of the street in front of everybody, just blows his brains out. That is like one of the best dramatic scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, in a throwaway movie of sorts, when you see him when he played the pilot in Flight, he did some.
What a movie, dude! Another that's Richard Donner, isn't it? Isn't that Richard Donner?
No, that's
Zemeckis. That's right, Zemeckis. Zemeckis and Donner were those two directors that are very similar to me in the way they direct.
I mean, the way he played it off as a druggie and a drunk and a dad and all these issues, and then at the end of it, when he had to accept it all, I said, "Well, that's not bad. That's not." It played a little like a Zemeckis film at the end, but not bad.
I think the biggest shocking moment is when you realize that if he'd been sober, they all would have died.
Yeah.
It was because he was all loosey-goosey that he's able to do what he did.
So let's talk director. What director would you want to get in there to direct something like this? Or would they do what they generally do in Marvel films now? They'll find somebody with one credit.
Yeah, the whole cookie cutter thing. It's the studio says, we want this film made exactly. It's the cookie cutter principle, the corporate filmmaking. We don't want that. You want somebody that knows how to fucking direct, knows how to make a scene.
If I had to choose styling, because he's mostly known for his lack of term parody films, but Edgar Wright. I mean, a lot of the
I like Edgar Wright
in Baby Driver, and what was it? Last Night in Soho. There's a lot of really, really imaginative camera work, and those are very serious, relatively serious films.
Yeah,
and and he loves the 70s. Also, is an important thing. I can confirm. I was at his triple feature of Evil Dead 2, Raising Arizona, and then he played Ricky-O, the story of Ricky, as the surprise.
I love that movie. How about the director who did the first part of the new Dune?
Well, I was going to actually throw in, I like Alfonso Cuarón. He's a very good director.
Yeah.
A very big picture guy. But what is that dude's name?
His name is Denis
Villeneuve. Yeah, Denis Villeneuve. That's it. Yeah, very good director, very good visual science fiction guy. I think he could handle the themes of that too.
I think he was in a losing position to remake that thing I mean, there's such a huge story and all those giant effects and all that stuff. And when I went and saw it, because I'm not a huge Dune fan, I said, wow, I could watch part 2 of this for sure, because he really did do a great job. And he's good with the actors as well. It wasn't all just special effects.
I think another guy that could probably handle it pretty well is David Fincher. I like a lot of his films. I don't think he's the greatest director ever, but I think he does a really good, solid job. And he does what I like is he's inspired by the better directors before him, like Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
And likes to get into the visual aspects. And I think the visual aspect of Soylent Green has to be done. Because if you didn't catch it, I did want to point out something visually that they did with that film, which is everything has a greenish hue to it.
Yes.
Especially the people. And it was a very subtle thing. And it was like, yeah, they could have just gone for the carbon issues, the greenhouse gas thing, and everything would have been grayish, bluish gray, like desaturated. But they specifically went for a green thing. And I like that because it gives you your first clue to where the movie's going to end, which is Soylent Green is people.
Right.
And it's a visual thing that they did.
If we went back to 1980, right, and they said, who do you want to make this thing for fun? I'd say give it to John Carpenter. Let's see what he can do with it.
Oh my God, because he's talking about coming out of retirement too. And I love Carpenter. Mark, if you didn't know this, I'm going to tell you my top 5 films, and they're always going to be the top 5. They will never be usurped by anybody else. Number 1, Blade Runner. Number 2, The Thing. Number 3, Escape from New York. Number 4, The Duelist. Number 5, Big Trouble in Little China. Those 5 films. Ridley Scott and fucking John Carpenter. My 2 favorite directors of the modern era.
If it was about 15 years ago for what he was making, I'd say Andrew Nicole. Did Gattaca and Lord of War.
Oh, yeah,
I liked his work, yeah.
Yeah. It might be a little too science fiction-y.
But we're talking about directing. We're not talking about the script.
No, well, right. True.
Because Lord of War, I mean, he got, in my opinion, one of Nicolas Cage's best performances.
Yes.
You're gonna think I'm kind of crazy, but I'd want to see what Guillermo del Toro does with it.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Guillermo eats from the leftist pie, and we got a taste of that with his new series, which I think failed, actually, to be honest with you. Because I can handle the politics. I watched it. I was like, all right, I get what you're doing here. My problem was I didn't think structurally it was really very well written. I expected better from him, but when he's got a good script, he does really good work. The problem with him, from what I hear, is he tinkers too long, and it fucks things up. He needs somebody to manage him.
Did you ever see Kronos?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Great movie. Yeah,
great movie. No, I'm a big fan of his work, but yeah, it's just he needs to be. He's one of those director I think needs to be managed. You need somebody that manages him.
So, how about? What's your view on 1980s James Cameron?
I liked him way before. Actually, I liked him even after Titanic, because then he did that little movie called True Lies, which I really did like. And,
I don't know what he would do with something, because Soylent Green's not in his wheelhouse as far as the feeling of the movie and all that.
I guarantee if he directed, he would gender flip Thorne. Absolutely.
Bong Joon-ho is a good choice. I could see that.
Catherine
Korean
Bigelow.
director.
Look, I shit on Catherine Bigelow for a couple things, but the fact is, I like more of her films than I dislike them. I just have a problem with her military film, and people go, "Well, I thought veterans liked that." No, wait, no, we don't like the Hurt Locker.
No. I say her because of a little film called Near Dark.
Oh yeah,
Near Dark is fucking awesome, dude. It's one of my favorite vampire films ever made. Again, Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, Goldstein. She played Vasquez in Aliens.
Jeanette
You had
Goldstein,
three of the
yeah.
cast from Aliens in there. Then you have Tim Thomerson in there. And then you have that dude that would later grow up to be in the TV series Heroes as one of the Flying Brothers. That was his first movie, in fact. Great fucking movie, Near Dark. Love that film. But when it comes down to directors, I would even accept a new director, somebody that shows the ability to handle directing and doing science fiction and understanding how to make a scene work with their actors. They have to be directors that know how to work with actors. I wouldn't get Ridley Scott because Ridley Scott does not actually work well with actors.
No.
He's not very good at it. He's a visual director. And that's why his films are so visually captivating. Blade Runner has been voted by the BFI and AFI as the single most influential film of the 20th century. And the reason why is because it's visuals. It has nothing to do with the story.
George Miller?
I like George Miller, but he's a flaky dude. I don't know.
Well, I know he's flaky, but I mean, he's made some great action.
I like all of his films, including Babe.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Babe. Babe and Pig in the City, the second one, good stuff. But
there's one person I'm going to throw in because I've worked with them personally, and she hasn't necessarily had a budget, but she was director on something I produced recently. Maria Georgesian. She's been doing a lot of work. She's working her ass off currently, and she knows how to organize people and get together and work with the cinematographer. So I hope she I'd want to give that as her big break.
Yeah, it's and I will go back to say Catherine Bigelow again. Wasn't she the one that directed Deep Impact?
Let me check.
Because I like that movie. I prefer that one over the other
Point
asteroid
Break,
film.
The Weight of Water, K-19, The Widowmaker. No, she
directed
did not
that?
Do Deep Impact.
Who directed that? Can you look it up real quick? Because it's a female, and that was a very good film.
Mimi Leader.
Mimi Leader. Is she still with us?
No idea.
Because I don't know why it got into my head. She may have passed away. I don't know why.
If I'm going to throw another woman, I'm going to say Mary Herron. Because especially if it's low budget, because American Psycho is.
I like that film.
How much that costs? It's amazing what they managed to do.
And she made a film that nobody wanted to make. She made a film that nobody wanted to make.
Yeah.
And she made it very true to the original text. But anyway, we've reached the end of the show, guys. This has been a fun discussion, man. I really enjoyed this. I hope you had a fun time, Mark. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I mean, if I know about the genre and the movies and stuff, yeah.
You've added a lot of nuance to the show. I appreciate you popping in and becoming part of the panel. I suspected you were going to have fun. We're going to be doing Omega Man here soon, as well as Planet of the Apes. So definitely, I'll let you know in advance what films we're doing, and you decide. Yeah, you decide if you want to do it. Soylent Green is great science fiction. It's not a big budget film. All of the money went into the acting and the direction. Fleischer did a very good job with that story. And it is, I consider the last act to be one of the most tragic moments of a film I've ever seen. Him having to watch the man who's like his dad voluntarily die just so he could prove something was happening.
It might be fun to do like a top 10 sci-fi from the 1980s, because I would choose as the one to talk about Outland, because I just love that film.
Outland's already on the list. It is on the list.
All right.
And you'll hear me, as much as I love that movie, and I do, I love that movie. When I was a kid, my dad got mad at me watching the film because I was sitting there and I kept whispering to my dad because I knew medical stuff as a kid. I said, that guy's been dead for a day. Because I knew it as a kid of lividity. I knew how blood worked. Even in 1/6 Earth's gravity, lividity happens. But hey, Danny is here to promote his show for tomorrow, guys. We've got a little show called Dork Side of the Ring on Sundays.
Yeah. Oh, you're covering my face. That's
All
okay.
right.
Oh, that's too bad. I just wanted to show it. This is it right here.
There we go. Yes.
Ryan, you're going to have Ryan on. That's awesome.
Dude, so you know him. So I want to ask you. So yeah, I got totally. I totally got blindsided by this. So on his 333rd episode of like up and coming, whatever, I forget the name of it. I got a tag, and dude, he made my day. He made my day. Like I don't know. I don't know how I know this guy, but we know each other now, and we had a conversation.
He did a review of our channel.
He did. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and
so
okay, he's like, people need to be watching this show. It's fun.
So clearly, he found me through you, and he's in the UK, and he's a huge wrestling fan, and we hit it off just like chatting. And so so this Sunday he's going to be our guest panelist to help. Sunday. Yeah, put the graphic back up. Sunday. Joe's Atmosphere unfortunately will not be joining us. However, we will have his pre-recorded State of the Apron address because I told him I don't want this to be a Matt Damon, Jimmy Kimmel bit. Like I'm not trying to bump State of the Apron every week.
Amen.
Yeah. So even though Joe won't be there, Ryan will be taking his place, but we will have a pre-recorded segment from Joe for State of the Apron. We're going to talk all about the fallout of the Royal Rumble. So if you're into wrestling, check us out.
All right. Outstanding, dude. Glad you dropped in to promote this.
Thanks, man.
So how are you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing great.
Only his mother and I call him that, by the way.
I can, dude. So my oldest son, Devin, just left, and I bought, thanks to the Salty Nerds, they reviewed Superman, the movie from '78.
Oh, nice.
And it got me all like nostalgic wanting to watch it, especially because Vader and Alex shit all over the movie. And Matt Kadish gave it 5 stars. So I was like, how? They've never been this opposite before. So I did a little deep dive, and then I found out there was a version I had never seen. So I bought it on Amazon. It was like $9. It's a 3 hour and 8 minutes like extended cut of Superman the movie. And so this is my weekend with my youngest son. He was here. My oldest son came over because we all try to hang out when I have him. Hey, Mom. And she saw the picture. I sent her the picture I was about to show you guys. We watched these kids actually watched a 3 hour and 8 minute cut of Superman with me, and it was awesome. And my youngest son gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which, as much as he bitched and complained about the special effects, and I kept having to say, son, you don't understand, this was made in 1978. I was surprised he gave it 3 stars. So yeah, I'm doing great. I'm over the moon. Over the moon.
You'll believe a man can fly. I love that.
Yeah.
That back in those days, I used to clip out of TV Guide the little posters, and I put them up on my from Superman the movie.
Dude, that's so funny, Mark, that you said that, because I was telling my kids that I'm like, you guys are so spoiled. The whole campaign behind this movie was "You will believe a man can fly." Like
and
that was
it's really good.
Yeah, some of it is, but this extended cut, it was weird. I don't know when they made it. I'll have to do some more research, but you could see like this weird outline, because there was a lot of really cool scenes in this extended cut where like Superman goes and saves a bunch of different places and people and things I had never seen before. But when he flew, you could see this weird, just in these extra scenes, you could see this weird outline around him.
Because it's not done yet.
Yeah. But it was still, I loved it.
Hey, if you want to see them laugh and you can tell them it scared the shit out of you, the first remake of King Kong, when they're on the log and he starts to spin the log and he's reaching down trying to grab him in the hole at the base, and it's so rubbery and stuff. But I gotta tell you, when I saw it, I was like,
dude, dude, this is what I tell my son, and this is why I love wrestling so much, because I guess I have this ability in my brain to do this. You have to, if you want to fully enjoy this stuff, you have to be able to suspend disbelief.
Turn it on,
Don't ask so many questions.
Yeah.
You know, just like
Real
because he
quick.
asked me. Yeah, go ahead.
We're reaching the end. So.
Yeah, I got to wrap up here. I hate to interrupt.
Real quick,
we are
though.
at the end of the show.
This is
one
the
last
end.
thing, though. The alternative ending of Soylent Green, instead of yelling "Soylent Green is people," Charlton Heston instead yells, "Ape must not eat ape. Ape must
Damn
not
filthy
eat ape."
animals. Okay, I want to thank the Dork Knight for being in the chat as well as being on the show.
Can I ask you
wanna
one
thank
quick
Andy
relevant
Morrow.
question?
No, we're out of time.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're out of time. Okay, sorry.
Andy Morrow, Penny, that's your mom. Say hello to your mother. Anyway, Anima Confusa, Monkey Jeebus, thank you, come again, Slasher Fred, War Monkey, the Peter Venkman fan site, Magitech Mags, Kingsport Cow, Boosh McFadden, Decepticons Cave of Comics and Toys, American Road Warrior, Joseph Dredd, our Muslim uncle, and Caesar. I see Caesar. And Genghis Khan. Glenn Fleming is here. Oh, from the UK again. Another one of our friends from the UK. Of course, the lovely Six was here. Thank you so much for dropping in. And the super chat or super sticker. That was so sweet of you. Let's see. Who else? I got to scroll past the chat here. Zax Kyle was here. E. Clay Thomason. Small Time Republic. Cavatino Cavalryman Che, who is after my own heart, a fellow infantry guy. Let's see. And that's it. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. Thanks for the chat. Cal, thank you so much, man, for all the comments. I love that one comment he made about, the yelling at black guys yelling at screens. He says, yeah, it's because all the stupid shit you white guys did on the screen.
Thank you, Skywatcher.
Yep. Thank you, Bill Skywatcher, for producing the show. This episode has been brought to you by John, drinking Soylent Green.
It's a not buy. It tastes like milk and magnesia.
Ew.
Yeah.
That
sounds gross.
Mark for joining us. Thanks, man. I want to thank Anima for trying to stick with us, but she's in the middle of a winter storm. Shinatsky, thanks a lot, buddy. And by the way, and I say this from my heart, fuck you, dude. Fuck
you, Gary.
Daniel, thank you so much, buddy. And Martine, thank you always for being the right side of my brain. And that's it, guys. That's the end of the show. We're fucking out of here.